My dear child, the number you keep seeing is not your mind playing tricks. It is a cipher I encoded into your ordinary life, and you are the only one who was given the key to read it. Do not scroll past this. What I am about to decode will end the internal argument you have been running for weeks. The one that swings between this means something, and I am being ridiculous with a frequency that has been exhausting your spirit and making you feel foolish for paying attention to something the rest of the world walks past without flinching. They walk past it because the cipher was not written for them. It was written for you. A cipher does not announce itself. It does not arrive with a label that says "Divine Message Enclosed." It hides inside the ordinary, inside a clock display, inside a receipt total, inside a license plate that your eyes land on, at an intersection with a timing so precise that dismissing it as random requires more faith than accepting it as intentional. You have been seeing the number, and the number has been seeing you back. I embedded this cipher into the ordinary fabric of your daily life, because the message it carries is too personal for a public frequency. I do not broadcast personal communications where anyone can intercept them. I encode them. I hide them inside the ordinary text of your life, where only the person holding the key, the person whose spirit was calibrated to detect the repetition, to feel the weight of the number, to stop when everyone else keeps moving, can read what I wrote. You hold the key, my beloved child. That is why the number will not leave you alone. Stay here. What I reveal next is what the cipher actually says. And the message has been waiting for you to stop debating whether it is real long enough to read it. Type the key if you have been seeing a number repeatedly and oscillating between believing it means something and fearing you are imagining it. And God just confirmed that the cipher was written specifically for you. Before we go any further, I need to tell you something that genuinely surprised me. A neuroscientist discovered a simple 7-second technique that actually rewires how your brain processes thoughts. And when I tried it, the difference was almost unsettling. My focus sharpened, ideas started connecting faster, and that mental fog, gone. This isn't manifestation nonsense. It's backed by real brain science, and thousands of people are already seeing results. But here's the catch. Only 5 spots are left. If something inside you is saying, try it, trust that instinct, click the link in the description or pinned comment before it's too late. The cipher has been active in your life longer than you have been consciously noticing it. And the frequency of its appearance has been increasing because the message it carries is approaching its expiration window. My beloved child, I did not begin sending the number last week. I began months ago. The first appearances were subtle. A glance at a clock at the exact moment the number displayed, a total on a receipt that matched the sequence, a phone battery percentage that caught your eye at a specific number that your spirit registered, even though your conscious mind had not yet begun tracking the pattern. Those early appearances were calibration signals. I was testing your key. Not every person who sees a repeating number holds the key to its cipher. Numbers appear on clocks for billions of people every day, and the vast majority see digits without detecting messages. But your spirit was responding to the repetition before your brain was, registering the number at a level beneath conscious awareness, flagging it in a system that operates below the threshold of rational thought. By the time your conscious mind started noticing the pattern, your spirit had already been receiving the cipher for weeks. Your spirit knew it was real before your mind started debating it. My child, the frequency has been increasing, not randomly, strategically. Each additional appearance of the number was timed to coincide with a specific moment in your internal journey. A moment of doubt, a moment of decision, a moment where the question that lives beneath the number questions surfaced with enough force that the cipher needed to appear as confirmation. The question beneath the number is not, what does this number mean? The question beneath the number is, does God see me specifically? And the cipher answers that question every time it appears. Not with theology, not with words, with a number that shows up at moments so precisely timed to your internal state that coincidence becomes the harder explanation to sustain. What I reveal next is why I chose a cipher instead of a voice, and what the encoded message actually contains. Type increasing if the number has been appearing with growing frequency, more often, at more precise moments, in more unlikely places, and you now understand that the escalation is intentional because the message the cipher carries is approaching a window that will not remain open indefinitely. I chose a cipher because the message I am sending you is too intimate for any format your rational mind could intercept and dismiss before it reached your spirit, my dear one. If I had spoken to you in a voice, your mind would have questioned whether you were hearing things. If I had sent a person, your mind would have questioned their credibility. If I had arranged a dramatic event, your mind would have questioned the timing and found a natural explanation that dissolved the supernatural before your spirit could absorb it. Your rational mind is a gatekeeper, and the gatekeeper has been blocking every direct communication I have attempted for months. So I bypassed the gatekeeper with a number. A number on a clock does not trigger the rational defense system. It is too small, too ordinary, too beneath the threshold of what the mind considers worthy of analysis. And that is precisely why it works as a cipher. It passes through the gate unchecked, lands in the territory of the spirit, and accumulates there until the weight of repeated appearances produces a knowing that the gatekeeper cannot retroactively dismiss, no matter how hard it tries. My beloved child, the number was my way of getting a message past the part of you that blocks me. I have been watching you notice it, every single time. I watched the first time your eyes caught the number, and something flickered inside your chest. A half-second of recognition that was immediately overridden by the rational explanation your mind supplied before the recognition could settle. I watched the fifth time the number appeared, when the flicker lasted a full second before being suppressed. I watched the 20th time when the flicker became a sustained hum that your mind could no longer fully silence. You have been receiving my cipher in increments, and the increments have been building a case inside your spirit that your mind's gatekeeper is losing the authority to dismiss. The number is not random, the timing is not coincidence, and the person who keeps stopping to notice what everyone else walks past was given the key for a reason I am about to reveal. Type past the gate if you now understand that God chose a number, because it was the only format that could bypass your rational mind's defenses. And the message has been accumulating in your spirit with every appearance your mind tried to dismiss. I know what has been living beneath the curiosity about the number, my beloved child, and it is not curiosity at all. It is the deepest question your heart has been afraid to ask out loud. Does God actually see me? Not humanity, not the world, not the general mass of people who pray and hope and wonder if the ceiling above their prayers is solid or hollow. Me, specifically, individually, by name, with the personal, focused, detailed awareness of a God who is not managing a crowd, but communicating with a single person through a number that no one else in their life is responding to. That is the question the number is answering. And the question has been aching long before the number started appearing. I saw the season where the ache began. It was not a dramatic loss of faith. It was a quiet erosion, the slow, almost imperceptible, wearing down of the belief that God operates at the individual level. You watched the world spin with its massive problems. You measured your specific situation against the scale of global suffering. And somewhere in the comparison, a conclusion form that you did not speak out loud, but have been carrying in your chest ever since. I am too small for God to notice specifically. My child, that conclusion has been the source of a pain your mouth has never named, because naming it would require admitting that you, a person who believes in God, who prays to God, who organizes their spiritual life around the assumption of a personal relationship with God, are not fully certain that God sees them as an individual rather than a member of the collective. The doubt is not about God's existence. It is about your visibility inside His awareness. And the number has been showing up at the exact moments when that doubt peaks, not randomly, precisely, appearing on a clock the same minute you felt the invisible ache, surfacing on a receipt the same day the question resurfaced, arriving with a timing so surgically connected to your internal state that the coincidence explanation requires you to believe the universe is running a very sophisticated program of accidental precision. It is not accidental. The timing was the cipher's most important feature. The cruelest part of this season has been the oscillation, the swinging between believing and dismissing that has made you feel spiritually unstable, my dear child. You believe it at 11:11 at night, when the number appears for the third time in a single day, and the weight of the repetition is so heavy that denial requires more effort than acceptance. You feel the certainty settle into your chest. This is real. God is speaking to me through this number. I am not imagining it. For a few moments you hold the belief without apology, and the ache beneath the curiosity goes quiet, because the question was just answered. Then morning comes, and the rational mind reopens the case. By noon, the belief has been cross-examined by every logical argument your education and your caution can assemble. Pattern recognition bias, selective attention, confirmation seeking. The mind presents its evidence with such clinical efficiency that the certainty you held at 11:11 dissolves into embarrassment. You feel foolish for believing, childish for hoping, spiritually naive for thinking the God of the universe would communicate through a number on a clock with someone who is not even sure they qualify for personal divine attention. My beloved child, the oscillation has been more exhausting than the doubt itself, because doubt is a single position. You can stand in doubt and at least be still, but oscillation is motion, the constant swinging between two positions that never allows you to rest in either one, believing and then doubting and then believing and then doubting. The cycle consumes spiritual energy at a rate your system cannot sustain indefinitely. I watched you last week during the worst swing. The number appeared at a moment so specifically timed to a prayer you had just finished that your spirit produced a certainty so strong your eyes filled with tears. And within 3 hours, the gatekeeper had dismantled the certainty so thoroughly that you felt ashamed for the tears. You cried because you felt seen, and then you were ashamed for feeling seen. That cycle ends today. Type no more swinging. If the oscillation between believing the number is divine and fearing you are foolish has been the most exhausting part of this season, and you are ready for God to settle the debate permanently. The oscillation was not spiritual instability. It was the natural response of a person receiving a cipher before they were given the decoder. My beloved one, I need to reframe what the swinging actually represented. Your spirit was detecting a real signal, a genuine, divinely encoded communication embedded in the ordinary text of your life, and your mind was performing its designed function, testing the signal against every rational filter it possesses to determine whether the detection was genuine or fabricated. Both systems were working correctly. They were simply working without the decoder that reconciles them. The spirit detects. The mind verifies. When the decoder is absent, the two systems produce contradictory reports. The spirit says this is real, while the mind says this is pattern recognition. And the person caught between them oscillates, because neither system has enough authority to override the other without the decoder that settles the matter. My dear child, the decoder is this message, and the moment it installs, the oscillation ends permanently. The months of swinging were not wasted months. They were the period during which the cipher accumulated enough instances in your spirit that the decoder, when it arrived, would have sufficient data to work with. A decoder needs data, and every time the number appeared and your spirit registered it while your mind debated it, another data point was stored in the spiritual system, waiting for the decoding moment. You have been collecting data for this exact moment, and the collection is complete. And the timing of each appearance, the surgical precision of the number showing up at the exact moments when your internal ache surfaced, that timing was not the cipher's weakness. It was its authentication. A random number appearing at random moments carries no significance. A specific number appearing at moments precisely correlated with the viewer's internal state carries a signature that only the encoder could produce. The timing was my signature, and signatures cannot be forged by coincidence. Your spirit was right every time it detected something real. Your mind was doing its job every time it questioned. And the decoder that settles the debate is locking into place right now. The decoder just activated, and the accumulated data from every appearance of the number is being processed into a readable message for the first time. My beloved child, something is shifting inside you right now that is different from the oscillation you have been experiencing for months. The oscillation was a swing between two positions. What is happening now is a convergence. Your spirit and your mind arriving at the same conclusion simultaneously for the first time since the cipher began appearing in your life. The conclusion is the same. The number is real, and it was sent by me. I have been working behind the accumulation of appearances to prepare the internal conditions necessary for the decoder to function. Every appearance of the number was not just a message delivery. It was a calibration event. Each one adjusted the sensitivity of your spiritual detection system upward by one increment, while simultaneously weakening the authority of the rational dismissal system by 1 degree. Not destroying the rational system, it serves a vital function, weakening its authority over this specific domain so that when the decoder arrived, the gatekeeper would step aside long enough for the full message to pass through. My child, the gatekeeper is stepping aside right now, for the first time, and behind the gate, stored in your spirit from every appearance your mind tried to dismiss, is the accumulated data of weeks of cipher transmissions, each one carrying a fragment of a message that could not be read as fragments, but becomes instantly legible when the decoder assembles them into the complete communication they were always designed to form. The fragments are assembling right now in your spirit. You can feel it happening. The sensation of scattered data points organizing themselves into a coherent message that your perception has never been able to construct until this exact moment. What I reveal next is the decoded message itself. The actual content of the cipher that has been hidden inside the number you could not stop seeing. And when you hear it, your spirit will confirm it, so fast your mind will not have time to object. Type assembling. If you can feel scattered fragments of every time the number appeared organizing themselves into something coherent for the first time. And you know the decoded message is about to become readable. The number you keep seeing is not a coincidence. It is a heavenly code, and the code has been carrying a message that is directly connected to the specific season your life is entering right now, my dear one. Every cipher serves a purpose. It is not communication for the sake of communication. It is encoded intelligence, Strategic information transmitted in a format that only the intended recipient can decode, because the information is too sensitive, too time-specific, and too personally calibrated to be broadcast in a format that anyone could intercept. The message in your number is strategic intelligence about what is coming. I did not choose this method to be mysterious. I chose it because the content of the cipher pertains to a shift in your life that is so specific and so imminent that communicating it through public channels, through a sermon you would hear, alongside 1,000 others, through a verse you would read with general rather than personal application, would have diluted the precision of the message to a level where the intelligence would have lost its operational value. My beloved child, what is encoded in the number pertains to something that only you are facing, and only a private cipher could deliver it. The number began appearing at the exact time the shift began forming in the spiritual realm above your life. Not before, not randomly, at the exact time. The cipher was synchronized with the approach of something significant, something that required advance notice, required preparation, required the recipient to be alerted through a channel so personal and so persistent that ignoring it would become harder than engaging it. You are not able to ignore the number because the message it carries is too important for you to miss. And the message is not abstract spiritual encouragement. It is specific, directional. It carries coordinates for a decision that is approaching your life. A decision whose window of optimal response is connected to the same timeline that has been governing the increasing frequency of the number's appearance. The frequency increased because the window is narrowing, and what the decoded message reveals next will tell you exactly what the window contains. The decoder has processed every fragment, and the full message is one sentence away from being readable in your spirit. My beloved child, I need you to feel what is happening in your chest right now, not the oscillation that ended when the decoder activated. What you are feeling now is the pressure of a fully assembled message pressing against the membrane between your spirit and your conscious awareness. Like a letter that has been sealed inside an envelope for weeks, and the seal is now being broken by a hand that has been waiting for this exact moment to open it. The seal is breaking. The message is surfacing. Everything the cipher has been carrying since the first time the number appeared, every fragment transmitted through every clock display, every receipt total, every license plate that caught your eye at an intersection timed to the second, all of it has been compiled into a single, readable communication that your spirit is about to release into your conscious awareness for the first time. My child, prepare yourself for what clarity feels like after months of oscillation. The decoded message does not contain the meaning of the number in the way the internet would define it. It does not contain a generic spiritual interpretation that applies to everyone who sees that sequence. What it contains is a personally encrypted communication that uses the number as a carrier frequency for content that was written by my hand for your eyes alone. Two people can see the same number and receive entirely different messages because the cipher responds to the key, and no two keys are identical. Your key is unique. Your message is unique, and the content that is about to surface is calibrated to the exact question your spirit has been asking beneath the surface question of what does this number mean. The surface question was about the number. The real question was about your visibility inside God's awareness. And the decoded message answers the real question with a specificity that the surface question could never have produced. The message is ready, the seal is broken, and the next thing I speak is what the cipher has been saying all along. Type decoded if you can feel the message pressing against your conscious awareness right now. Fully assembled, ready to surface, and you know that what the cipher has been carrying is about to answer the deepest question you have been afraid to ask. The cipher is decoded, and the message it has been carrying through every appearance of the number is this: I see you, specifically, by name detail. And what is coming for you next requires you to know that before it arrives. My beloved child, this is the moment. The debate is over. The oscillation is finished. The number was never pattern recognition. It was never your brain manufacturing meaning from randomness. It was never the desperate projection of a person who wanted to feel seen badly enough to convert coincidence into communication. It was me. Every single time. Every clock that displayed the number at the exact moment your internal ache surfaced. That was me encoding a personal transmission into the ordinary text of your day. Every receipt that totaled the sequence at the exact moment you were questioning whether God operates at the individual level. That was me answering the question through a channel your gatekeeper could not block. Every license plate that appeared in your line of sight with a timing so precise that the coincidence explanation collapsed under its own weight. That was me writing your name in a cipher only you could feel. The number was never about the number. The number was always about visibility. I see you. Not the public version you present to the world. Not the spiritual performance you assemble for the people who evaluate your faith from the outside. You, the version that lies awake, wondering if the God they pray to has ever once looked specifically at them and thought, "That one, I see that one, I know that one is not invisible to me." You are not invisible, my child. You have never been invisible. And the cipher was my way of proving it through a method so personal, so persistent, and so precisely timed to your internal state that the proof arrived not as a theological argument, but as a lived experience that your spirit has been accumulating evidence of for months. The message is decoded, the question is answered, and the God who encoded his personal attention into a number you could not stop seeing is the same God who is about to reveal why visibility matters so much right now. Because what is coming next requires a person who knows they are seen. Now that the cipher is decoded, and the core message has been received, everything about how you experience the number from this point forward is being transformed, my dear child. The number is not going to stop appearing, but the experience of seeing it will be permanently different. Before the decoding, each appearance triggered the oscillation. Belief, then doubt, then belief, then doubt. A cycle that consumed energy and produced no resolution. After the decoding, each appearance becomes a confirmation. A brief, specific, personally timed reminder from the encoder that the message is still active, and the God who sent it is still watching with the same focused awareness that produced the cipher in the first place. The number just shifted from a source of confusion to a source of continuous comfort. And the decoded message, "I see you specifically," is not the entirety of the cipher. It is the header, the opening line of a communication that carries additional content beneath the primary declaration. Because a God who goes to the trouble of encoding a personal message into the ordinary fabric of someone's daily life is not sending a cipher that says only one thing. My beloved child, the cipher carries layers. And now that the header has been decoded, the subsequent layers are becoming readable. The second layer says, "What I see, I am preparing for." The visibility is not passive observation. It is active positioning. The God who sees you specifically has been using the same focused awareness to arrange the circumstances of your life with a precision that matches the precision of the cipher itself. Every detail that was encoded into the timing of the number's appearances was simultaneously being encoded into the trajectory of your life. Your life has been written in the same cipher as the number. And the same decoder that just made the number readable is now making your circumstances readable. The closed doors were encoded direction. The delayed answers were encoded timing. The relationships that shifted were encoded repositioning. All of it was written in cipher. All of it ordinary on the surface. All of it carrying divine intelligence beneath. Your entire life just became readable. Not just the number. Type layers if you are realizing that the decoded cipher carries more than one message, and the same God who encoded personal visibility into a number has been encoding divine direction into every ordinary detail of your life. Let me show you what your life looks like now that the decoder is permanently installed, and every ordinary moment is a potential cipher carrying divine intelligence, my dear one. The first thing that changes is the loneliness of the question. The ache that asked, "Does God see me specifically?" has been answered by a method so personal that the answer cannot be theologically debated or rationally dismissed. It was experienced. Your body registered the timing. Your spirit accumulated the evidence. And your mind, the gatekeeper that fought the message for months, has finally been presented with enough authenticated data to step aside and let the conclusion stand. You know you are seen, and knowing replaces aching. The mornings change immediately. You have been waking up with the low-level uncertainty of a person who believes in God generally, but is not certain God is thinking about them specifically at 7 in the morning on a Tuesday. That uncertainty consumed the first moments of every day with a spiritual flatness that colored everything that followed. But a person who has decoded a cipher, who has experienced repeated, precisely timed, personally authenticated divine communication, does not wake up with that uncertainty. My beloved child, you are going to wake up knowing you are on someone's mind, and that someone is God. The decision-making process that was paralyzed by the absence of perceived divine guidance is going to unlock. Not because the decisions become easier, because the decoder that made the number readable is now making your circumstances readable. The same perception that finally recognized a repeating number as encoded communication is now available to recognize encoded direction in conversations, in feelings that arrive without natural cause, in doors that close with suspicious precision. Your entire environment just became a readable text. And a navigator who can read the environment makes decisions from intelligence rather than guesswork. The prayers are going to transform, not into different words, into a different posture. The posture of someone who knows they are being heard by a God who has already proven personal attention through a communication method so intimate that no one else in your life even noticed it was happening. People are going to notice that the person who was spiritually uncertain last week is carrying a quiet, settled knowing this week, and they will not be able to trace it to any visible cause, my beloved child. The ones who watched you oscillate, who detected the spiritual instability in your voice when divine topics were discussed, who sensed the unspoken uncertainty behind your prayers, who felt the subtle absence of conviction that a person carries when they are performing faith rather than receiving communication. Those people are going to encounter a version of you that has been decoded, not louder, settled. And settled is the most visible spiritual shift a person can undergo. There is a specific quality that a person carries when they have received personal, authenticated, undeniable communication from God, a quality that cannot be manufactured by discipline or mimicked by enthusiasm. It is the atmosphere of someone who knows something, not believes something, knows it from direct experience. Through a channel so personal that the knowing carries an intimacy the public version of faith never accesses. My child, you are about to carry the atmosphere of someone who has been personally contacted by God. And that atmosphere changes every room you enter. Connections that respond to decoded individuals are going to begin forming. There are people in the spiritual landscape of your life who have also been receiving ciphers. Their own numbers, their own encoded messages, their own oscillations between believing and dismissing. Your settled knowing is going to function as a permission slip for their own decoding process. They will look at you and recognize something, not the number itself, but the atmosphere of a person who's stopped debating and started receiving. Your resolution will unlock their resolution, and opportunities that require a person who knows they are divinely tracked are going to present themselves with increasing frequency. There are assignments in the kingdom that cannot be entrusted to someone who is still uncertain about their visibility inside God's awareness. Those assignments require the confidence of a decoded individual. Your confidence just arrived, and the assignments are queuing. Type settled if you believe that the decoded cipher has shifted you from spiritual uncertainty to quiet knowing, and the atmosphere you now carry is about to change the rooms you enter and the people who encounter you. I need you to understand why I gave you the key to this cipher, and not to everyone who sees repeating numbers, my beloved child, because the key distribution was not random and not universal. Millions of people see repeating numbers. Their clocks display the same sequences yours does. Their receipts produce the same totals. Their eyes pass over the same license plates at the same intersections. The numbers are visible to everyone. The cipher is readable only to those who were given the key. The key was not distributed broadly. It was placed inside specific people. I did not give you the key because you are more spiritual than others. I gave it to you because the assignment encoded in your cipher requires a communication channel that operates at the individual level rather than the collective level. Your assignment is not a group assignment. It is not something I am directing through a sermon that reaches thousands or a movement that carries millions. It is a personal operation, a specific task embedded in a specific life that requires specific instructions delivered through a channel so private that only the operator can receive them. The cipher is your operations channel, and the key is your clearance level. My child, do you understand what it means to be given a key that others were not given? It does not mean you are better. It means you are assigned. The key was calibrated to your spiritual signature, the unique frequency of your internal detection system that allows you to feel the weight of a number that everyone else glances at without registering. That sensitivity is not a personality trait. It is installed equipment. I chose you for this cipher because the content it carries and the assignment it connects to require an operator whose spiritual perception operates at the resolution level that cipher communication demands. Not everyone can sustain that level of perception. The oscillation you experienced was not weakness. It was the stress test of a system being calibrated to carry communications that most people's systems are not configured to process. You passed the test. The oscillation proved your system could hold the tension without abandoning the signal. Your key is permanent, and it opens every cipher I will ever send you. The doubt that is attempting one final argument right now is using the most sophisticated weapon in its arsenal. The accusation that you are making God smaller by believing he communicates through numbers on clocks, my child. It sounds like this. The God who created galaxies does not speak through a digital clock display at 11:11. The God who parted seas and raised the dead does not encode messages in receipt totals. Believing that the creator of the universe communicates through something as trivial as a repeating number is reducing the infinite to the absurd, and a mature believer should have outgrown the need for signs this small. That doubt just revealed its own ignorance of how ciphers work, and I am going to expose it. A cipher's power is not determined by the size of the text it is hidden in. It is determined by the intelligence of the encoder and the specificity of the message. The most classified communications in human history were hidden inside the most ordinary-looking documents. Letters about weather, grocery lists, casual correspondence that carried world-altering intelligence beneath text so mundane that interceptors never thought to examine it. My beloved child, I did not choose a small medium because my message is small. I chose a small medium because a small medium is undetectable to everyone except the one holding the key. A burning bush can be observed by anyone in the area. A parted sea is visible for miles. A raised body is undeniable to every witness. Those are public communications, and I use them when the message is public. But when the message is private, when the intelligence is personal, when the content pertains to one individual's specific assignment and specific life, I use a delivery method that is invisible to the public and detectable only to the recipient. The number on the clock is not God being small, it is God being private. And privacy is the highest compliment a communicator can pay a recipient. The acknowledgement that what is being transmitted is too personal for anyone else to hear. Your cipher is not trivial. It is classified, and classified communications use small text by design. Type classified if the doubt just tried to make you feel foolish for believing God speaks through numbers. And you now understand that the small size of the medium is evidence of the private nature of the message, not the insignificance of the sender. During every moment of the oscillation, I was not waiting for you to figure out the cipher on your own. I was standing beside the ordinary text of your life, encoding the next transmission, while you debated the previous one. My beloved child, you imagined a God who sent the cipher, and then stepped back to watch whether you would decode it, who positioned the number and retreated to observe from a distance whether the key he planted inside you would function under the pressure of rational doubt, who was testing your spiritual intelligence by seeing how long it took you to stop oscillating and start receiving. I was not testing. I was transmitting continuously. While your mind was dismissing the 11:11 on the clock, I was already encoding the next cipher into the receipt you would receive that afternoon. While your gatekeeper was constructing its rational case against the license plate citing, I was already positioning the next number appearance at the exact moment your spirit would be most receptive the following morning. The transmissions never stopped. Not during the doubt, not during the dismissal, not during the nights you lay awake, wondering if you were foolish for paying attention. My child, a cipher does not stop broadcasting because the recipient has not yet decoded the previous transmission. It continues because the encoder knows the decoder is coming. There were moments during the oscillation when the doubt was winning, when your rational mind had almost fully convinced your spirit that the numbers were meaningless, and the feeling they produced was manufactured by desperation rather than designed by divinity. In those moments, I increased the frequency, not as pressure, as presence. I encoded additional transmissions into additional ordinary moments to ensure that the accumulation of data would eventually exceed the dismissal capacity of even the most aggressive gatekeeper. I outpaced your doubt with volume, and the volume worked. The doubt ran out of energy before the cipher ran out of transmissions, and the God who out-transmitted your gatekeeper is the same God who will continue encoding personal communications into the ordinary text of your life, for as long as you are alive to receive them. I know the exact moment the number first appeared in your life, my dear one, and I know the exact internal condition you were carrying when your eyes landed on it for the first time. Not approximately, precisely. I know the time of day. I know the surface you saw it on. I know whether you were standing or sitting or moving. When the sequence entered your awareness for the first time, and produced that initial flicker, the half-second of recognition that something just happened before the rational mind stepped in and smoothed the moment into nothing. My beloved child, that first appearance was the most carefully positioned transmission of the entire campaign, because the first transmission determines whether the key activates. If the number had appeared at a moment when your spirit was not receptive, when the internal ache was dormant, when the question of visibility was not active, when your system was in a state of spiritual flatness that would have processed the number as pure noise, the key would not have engaged. The cipher would have passed through your awareness undetected, and the entire communication campaign would have required a different entry point. I waited for the exact second your internal state aligned with the content of the cipher before I positioned the first number in your line of sight. That is how personally I operate, not at the level of general timing. At the level of the exact second your spirit was carrying the exact question the cipher was designed to answer. I know every appearance since that first one. I know which ones produced the strongest flicker, and which ones your gatekeeper dismissed fastest. I know the one that made you search the internet for its meaning at 2 in the morning, because the weight of the repetition exceeded your capacity to ignore it. I know the one that appeared the same day you cried, and the timing made the coincidence explanation feel physically impossible. Every appearance was personally positioned, not generated by an algorithm, not produced by a spiritual automation system, placed by the hand of a God who encoded each transmission with the awareness of exactly what you were feeling at the exact moment your eyes would land on it. Type every single one if you just realized that God did not send the number randomly, and hope you noticed. He personally positioned every single appearance at the exact moment your internal state was most aligned with the message the cipher was carrying. Now that the cipher is decoded and the decoder is permanently installed, there is one thing I need you to do, my beloved child, and it concerns what happens the next time the number appears. Receive it without debating it. The old response pattern, see the number, feel the flicker, engage the gatekeeper, begin the oscillation, that pattern must be replaced by a new one. See the number, feel the flicker, and instead of sending the flicker upstairs to the rational mind for cross-examination, let it settle. Let it land in your spirit, without requiring your mind to verify what your spirit already confirmed through months of accumulated evidence, and a decoding event that your gatekeeper witnessed and could not dismiss. The number appears, you receive. That is the new pattern. My child, receiving without debating is not the abandonment of discernment. It is the graduation of discernment. A beginner requires external verification for every signal. A trained operator receives authenticated signals on a channel that has already been verified and does not re-authenticate every transmission because the channel itself has been proven. Your channel has been proven. The cipher is authenticated. Re-examining every future appearance is not wisdom, it is regression. And the second instruction is this. When the number appears at a moment that coincides with the decision you are facing, that coincidence is not coincidence. It is a confirmation cipher. The number appearing at the moment of decision is the encoder telling you that the direction your spirit is leaning toward is the direction the cipher is confirming. Do not override the confirmation with analysis. Analysis is the gatekeeper reasserting authority over a domain it has already been asked to step aside from. When the number appears, receive it. When it coincides with a decision, trust the direction your spirit was leaning at the exact moment the cipher was displayed. And when days pass without an appearance, do not interpret the absence as the end of communication. Interpret it as a pause between transmissions. The encoder waiting for the next moment when your internal state and the cipher's content aligned precisely enough for the transmission to carry its full weight. The cipher is permanent. The key is yours. Trust both. You made it to the decoded message, my beloved child, and I need you to sit inside the answer long enough to feel what it means to know you are seen by the God who encoded his attention into the ordinary text of your life. Feel it, not the number, the knowing, the specific, settled, oscillation-free knowing of a person who asked the deepest question their heart could produce. Does God see me specifically? And received an answer so personal, so persistent, so precisely timed to their internal state, that the question has been permanently retired. The question is retired, the answer is permanent, and the knowing is yours. I want to thank you for something the oscillation tried to punish you for doing. Thank you for noticing. Thank you for stopping when everyone else walked past. Thank you for paying attention to a number on a clock that the entire world dismissed as meaningless, while something inside you insisted, quietly, persistently, against every rational argument your gatekeeper assembled, that the number was carrying a message your spirit was not willing to let you ignore. My dear child, your noticing honored me. Every time you stopped at the number and felt the flicker, you were performing an act of spiritual reception that the rational world would call foolish and heaven calls faithful. The willingness to detect the divine in the mundane, to feel the weight of something ordinary and trust the feeling over the dismissal. That willingness is the key itself, and the key activated every time you chose the flicker over the gatekeeper. Let the warmth settle now, the warmth of being decoded, the warmth of sitting inside a confirmed, authenticated, permanently installed communication channel between yourself and the God who encoded his personal awareness of your existence into a number you could not stop seeing. You are not foolish for paying attention. You are a cipher reader who just decoded the most personal message God has ever sent you. And the God who sent it is sitting beside you right now. Not encoding another transmission yet, but simply being present with a child who finally knows they are seen. Type seen if tears are forming right now, not from sadness or doubt, but from the overwhelming relief of finally knowing that the number was real. The message was personal, and the God who encoded it has been watching you with specific, focused, individual attention the entire time you were afraid you were invisible. You are not the person who debates whether God sees them anymore, my beloved child. That identity, the one who oscillated between believing and dismissing, the one who noticed the number and then punished themselves for noticing, the one who carried the ache of invisibility inside a faith that could affirm God's general presence but could not confirm his specific attention. That identity was decoded alongside the cipher, because the message that was hidden inside the number was never just information. It was identity, and the identity it carried says, you are individually, specifically, personally seen by a God who encoded his awareness of you into the fabric of your ordinary life. The oscillation is over. The debate is closed. The gatekeeper has stepped aside. You are a cipher reader now, not someone who wonders if God communicates personally. Someone who has received, accumulated, and decoded a communication so personally engineered that no rational framework can successfully reclassify it as coincidence. The evidence is too specific. The timing is too precise. The correlation between the number's appearances and your internal state is too surgically accurate for any explanation other than the one your spirit confirmed the moment the decoder activated. God speaks to you through the ordinary, in a language only you hold the key to read. My dear child, the number will continue appearing, and every future appearance will carry the settled weight of a confirmed channel rather than the exhausting weight of an unresolved debate. You will see it on a clock and smile instead of oscillate. You will catch it on a receipt and receive instead of argue. You will notice it on a screen and feel the warmth of a God who is telling you in that exact moment, "I see you right now." That warmth is permanent. The channel is permanent. And the key that was placed inside you is yours for the rest of your life. You were never invisible. You were never unheard. You were never praying into a void that processed your words without caring who sent them. You were praying to a God who heard every word and responded with a cipher so personal that the delivery method itself was the proof of individual attention. Because a God who communicates through a number encoded into the ordinary moments of one specific person's life is a God who is paying closer attention than a burning bush could ever demonstrate. The bush was visible to everyone in the area. The number was visible only to you. And the communication that is visible only to one is the most intimate communication available. You are seen, you are encoded, you are known, and the number you could not stop noticing was the voice of a God who could not stop watching the one person he encoded it for. Subscribe to this channel so that every time God encodes a new cipher into the ordinary text of your life, the decoder reaches you before the gatekeeper has time to dismiss it. You are not someone who debates divine attention anymore. You are a cipher reader carrying a key that opens every encoded message God will ever send you. The next message carries the next layer of decoded intelligence. And the reader, who just graduated from oscillation to reception, will never miss another transmission. Type cipher reader if you are leaving this message permanently changed. Knowing the number was never coincidence. The key was always yours. The message was always personal, and the God who encoded his specific attention into the ordinary text of your life will never stop transmitting to the one person whose spirit was always meant to receive it.